This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Well, the Microsoft and Activision Blizzard deal is currently blocked. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority put out its 400-page report on their findings this week, recommending against the merger. They had a number of things that they pointed out. They went into pretty great detail about Microsoft's business practices, and both before and after a potential merger. But the decision boiled down mostly to two topics. And I am struggling with both of them. I am neither a proponent of nor a opponent of this merger. I don't care either way necessarily, but the argument against it in this report is a little arguable. The first thing that they pointed out was Microsoft made a number of commitments, both to regulators and to the industry. The most important one was that Call of Duty, which is, of course, Activision's cash cow, and probably the biggest franchise that the company owns across all of its brands, that Call of Duty would be available off-platform for at least a decade. Sony had complained that they felt that Microsoft was purchasing Activision so that they could bring the games in-house and make them exclusive to the Xbox console. And Microsoft said, no, you can keep Call of Duty. We're good. And they said, in fact, we'll throw in the Switch. We're not just going to commit to putting it on PlayStation for the next decade. We'll give it to Nintendo too if they want it. So the CMA said that it was an unrealistic commitment because the Switch couldn't possibly play Call of Duty. So a couple things. One, Nintendo probably doesn't want Call of Duty. We've talked in the past that Nintendo has a particular image, and they're fine with it. They know who they are. They've separated themselves from Microsoft and Sony, and they're good with that. So they probably don't care about Call of Duty. And second, Call of Duty was on seemingly every Nintendo console until recently, when they really solidified who they were. It was on the Wii. It was on the Wii U. This would be far from the first time that a Call of Duty title was on a Nintendo console. So the idea that, the Switch couldn't possibly handle Call of Duty is comical to me. Because it's running on phones. In reality, they could easily put a Call of Duty experience on Nintendo if Nintendo cared, which they don't. So that was an argument that I immediately felt like my BS meter started going. The other complaint was about the potential for Game Pass and Xbox cloud gaming, particularly the possibility or probability of a price increase. So let me tell you all the things that have happened that have not caused a price increase. Purchasing Bethesda. including EA Play, which they do not own. The new partnership with Ubisoft. Massive inflation. What, an average of 9% inflation over the last couple of years. None of that has caused a price increase. It will eventually, right? We know Game Pass can't possibly stay at $15 forever. But this, I don't know. This acquisition doesn't seem like the thing that's finally going to put it over the top. Oh, you're going to be able to get Call of Duty, day one on an Xbox console. I don't know that that's the thing that's going to put it over the top. So, I don't know. These two complaints just didn't sit right with me, Avram. They both come across weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is weird. I mean, look, you can't guarantee that everything's going to run on every platform, right? So as long as they're making it available to another platform that's capable of running it,
right?
That has the horsepower to run it. Like, it would be one thing if they said, "Oh yeah, PS5 can't play this because, it's not good enough."
Yeah.
When we know that it is, like, that would be, well, look, that's the kind of thing Apple would do, right?
True.
They would say, like, there's some magic sauce here that, or they create some hardware way of, I don't know. They'd use put some feature in it that only Xbox could do or whatever.
Yeah.
But, but they're not doing that. So,
or only Xbox will get 60 frames per second and PlayStation will get 30. Oh, no, wait. That was the case, right. But it was the other way around. Whoops.
Right. So I don't know. I don't see, like, this seems a little ridiculous. I get it that there's anti-competitive concerns as companies should, I think the regulatory authority should be concerned about stuff if the company is kind of flexing, anti-competitive authority. They although this is already kind of, I mean, if they're worried about the company having control of a platform and then also making games that could run on that platform, that ship sail because, they already have other studios. Although, the more they buy, the more it could lock others out. But, there's still there's still plenty of, like, how much of the market would they own if this deal goes through?
I think less than Sony, because Sony's got all kinds of in-house studios too, and second party, which is a category we don't talk about a lot. Essentially, externals that are kind of internals. that weird hybrid space. So much stuff comes to Sony exclusive, first party, third party. And Sony has been the console leader for the last two generations. They owned the last generation, and they keep hitting hardware sales record milestones. Fourth quarter of last year was the largest console sale quarter in Sony's history.
Yeah. So
and
they're not in
they're
trouble.
about to hit the most. I think I just read that they're about to hit the most PlayStation consoles sold for a generation ever, and we're only a couple years into the generation. I mean, they're owning it, and Microsoft is trying to fight back. They're trying to be able to compete. They got saddled down at the beginning of this generation. Because of chips and Taiwan and COVID, right? The PS5s started becoming available in retail well ahead of when the Xboxes were in people's hands. That gave Sony a huge lead in this generation. And I think legitimately this is Microsoft writing basically a blank check to Activision to try and hold that off to make Game Pass a more attractive deal, which it already is. It's wildly effective. Where at $15, you've got what? Xbox Live, you've got the games for the PC, the games for the Xbox, the cloud gaming service, EA Play, and whatever this new Ubisoft relationship is. But that's still not helping them stem the tide against Sony. I think they want this for that. So,
yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know ridiculous. That if they would have Sony, even with this, I don't know if they can fully recover from the late start on this generation, even with this. So I don't know. The explanation seems odd. I totally get the idea of this is a big concern. Activision is the company, right? We all know it. Between Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo 4, which comes out soon, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and then King for mobile games. Activision owns a lot of stuff. I see where the concern comes from, and these explanations aren't it.
Yeah, no.
The thing that you pointed out, well, how much of the industry do they control if they take this over? That seems like the conversation to have, unless that ended up being a losing strategy. This doesn't seem like the thing to focus on, because these don't seem like winning strategies.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, next steps for Microsoft, because it's not over. They've spent a lot of money to get to where they are. So, it seems like for sure they're not going to give up at this point. So, the next step is that they can file an appeal. They will be appealing to a court. They've got 4 weeks to put the appeal in, and then basically they have to argue why the CMA's decision-making process was wrong. We've helped you out a little bit here. Though I assume your lawyers are probably better versed than we're going to be, but basically they have to make the argument that the decision-making process was flawed. And then they can get back on track. So I don't think they're going to shut down discussions with other regulatory bodies. They might slow down, but I don't think they're going to shut down. They are going to focus on this appeal. There's no way they don't. We're like 15 months into this since the announcement. The announcement wasn't the beginning of the process for sure. So they're going to keep going down this. We will know probably by the end of the summer whether or not the appeal has been accepted or rejected. And then at that point, we will find out what the rest of the process looks like. It's definitely going to be chaos, but we will stay on top of it. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.